Good evening. I'm David Smith, and this is Week in Review. Tonight we'll be discussing the European debt crisis and the amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act. Good evening. Once again, I'm David Smith, and I'm joined by our co-hosts, Eric Hoffman in San Diego, California, and Daniel, our director and audiovisual engineer here in the studio in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'd like to remind everyone that our Twitter address is WIRTV, and our email address is david@weekinreview.tv, eric@weekinreview.tv, and daniel@weekinreview.tv. So please take the time to communicate with us. Let us know what's on your mind and your responses to our subjects this evening. And if you have any questions or comments, we'll be happy to respond to them during the show. Once again, that's WIRTV is our hashtag, and our email addresses are david@weekinreview.tv, eric@weekinreview.tv, and daniel@weekinreview.tv. Well, I'd like to begin this evening with a couple of news items. This one I'm going to list under the heading, Have We Completely Lost Our Mind in This Country? There's a report of a 6-year-old boy being charged in Grant County, Wisconsin, with sexual assault because he was playing doctor with a 5-year-old girl. And the prosecutor has decided to charge him apparently because his mother or father, or the young girl's mother or father, is a person prominent in local politics there in Grant County. But this has got to be one of the craziest things that I've ever heard. And the prosecutor has asked the judge to issue a gag order to keep anyone from discussing the case, which is not uncommon in cases involving juveniles. However, it appears that she's doing it because she's embarrassed by the fact that she's made this charging decision, which has just outraged everyone because of the ridiculousness of it. So the story is on our in our topics section. You can take a look at that. Secondly, I'd like to talk about Michelle Bachmann and some comments that she made about gay marriage, and I'm going to ask Daniel to play a video clip that we have of her addressing the question of a couple of middle school students at a recent campaign event.
I like your hat.
My name is Jane Schmidt. I'm in charge of the GSA over at the high school.
What is that?
It's the Gay Straight Alliance, and one of my main concerns is the lack of government support for the LGBT community. So my question for you is, what would you do to help protect GSAs in high school and support the LGBT community?
Well, number one, all of us as Americans have the same rights. We have the same civil rights. And so that's really what government's role is to protect our civil rights. There shouldn't be any special rights or special set of criteria based upon people's preferences. We all have the same civil rights.
Then why can't same-sex couples get married?
Well, they can get married. They can, but they abide by the same law as everyone else. They can marry a man if they're a woman, or they can marry a woman if they're a man.
Why can't a man marry a man?
Because that's not the law of the land.
So then heterosexual couples have a privilege.
No, they have the same opportunity under the law. There is no right to same-sex marriage.
So you do nothing to support the LGBT community?
No, what I said is that there are no special rights for people based upon your sex practices. There's no special rights based upon what you do with your sex life. You're an American citizen first and foremost, and that's it.
But wouldn't heterosexual couples, they're given a privilege then that gay couples aren't? Like given that privilege to get married, but heterosexual couples are given a privilege to get married?
Well, and remember, every American citizen has the right to avail themselves of marriage, but they have to follow what the laws are. And the laws are, you marry a person of the opposite sex. That's the law.
Well, I want everyone to know that I absolutely do not support Michelle Bachmann. And I'm really rather flabbergasted. This woman is a licensed attorney. I can't believe that she doesn't realize that in certain states, it is legal for same-sex couples to get married. And so the law is not equal, and that is the issue that needs to be addressed. And that the Republicans are focusing on this at a time when we have serious problems to deal with. I'm just astounded. This is another, have we completely lost our mind in this country? That we can focus this much attention on this issue. I'm going to give you my solution, and I think it's kind of an easy one. No minister, no priest, no rabbi, no one in a religious function can perform a marriage that will be considered valid under the law. You go down to the court, whoever you are, man and woman, man and man, woman and woman, you get your civil union license, and you have a magistrate perform that ceremony, and you get all the same rights. Everybody gets the same rights. And then if you want to leave the courthouse and go have some sort of religious ceremony that sanctifies your union, you can have a Catholic mass, or you can dance in the moonlight, naked, worshiping Hecate. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. But you do that after you get your civil union. And that way, the state is not trying to perform a religious function, and the church is not trying to perform a state function. And this issue is easily solved, but we have to get religion out of it as far as the civil contract is concerned, and that's an easy thing to do. And if every state would just do that, then everyone who wants a religious ceremony can go have one, and everyone has the same rights. But this issue just is easily dealt with. This one is easily dealt with. I'm sorry.
Well, I think we know why Bachmann has faded from the top now of the pack of Republican candidates.
Yeah, it's just she just isn't aware of the facts to begin with. There are several states that have approved same-sex marriage, and the fact that it's none of the federal government's affair. This is a matter of state sovereignty, which is another issue, that has to be dealt with. But this is not the time to be dealing with this when it could be easily solved right across the board in all 50 states. And just by recognizing that the way it's designed, it's a civil contract between two people. And if you want to have some religious ceremony that creates some sacramental or sanctifying element to it after you get your civil issues dealt with, that's fine. Or you cannot have any at all if that's your choice. But this constant emphasis on the state performing some religious function, or the church or any other religious institution performing a civil function, we need separation of church and state, and it needs to be very, very clear. And it just isn't right now. and this issue could be dealt with really quickly. Third news item, follow-up on a previous report. We did the 60 Minutes expose on insider trading in Congress. Apparently, Senator Joe Lieberman, chairman of the Senate's Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, is having hearings and was informed by the commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission that congressmen and senators are not exempt from the laws regarding insider trading. And therefore, there are probably going to be some investigations into certain senators and congressmen who apparently have been rather egregious in their violation of this rule. And also, they're going to be discussing making the ethics more stringent in this regard, and certainly they want to, it seems, pass a law that makes it very clear to all members of Congress that they are not allowed to engage in any form of insider trading at any time. So apparently this issue has become a real hot issue up on Capitol Hill. So that's good to know. And I'm sure that the input that the Senate and the House have received on this issue is what has led to this speedy establishment of hearings on this issue. So that's follow-up. We have that on our web page for today. It's a rather long video. It's 6 to 10 minutes, but it has the opening statement that Senator Lieberman is making as the hearings begin. So you might want to follow up with that story as well. All right, topic for today. Got two of them, and I think that they're going to dovetail into one another. The first thing I'd like to discuss today with you gentlemen is the EU debt crisis. Apparently, France and Germany are attempting to redesign the European Union because of the resistance of Italy, Greece, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, to the demands that these two countries, which bear the brunt of the bailouts for the Eurozone, want to impose on the other countries of the EU, especially taking control of their budgets, their national budgets, and to impose stricter sanctions for those who do not want to comply with their obligations. So this has become a very significant issue this past week, especially with Sarkozy, the president of France, today, making the statement that this needs to be done immediately, like this week, this coming week, or Europe may collapse altogether. Of course, we have to attribute that to some of that exaggeration that he tends to. But Eric had an interesting perspective on this when we were briefly talking the other evening, and I'd like him to point it out to us, because it's an interesting historical note to consider at this point in Europe's history.
So yeah, well, yeah, what I was saying is that seems like Angela Merkel is going to accomplish what, you know, Bismarck, the Kaiser, and Adolf Hitler couldn't accomplish. She's going to make herself master of Europe. And I guess Sarkozy feels he's going to do what Napoleon couldn't accomplish. He's going to get back into Spain and Portugal, and the Germans are going to get back into Italy and Greece and Eastern Europe. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that all these dashing heroic types couldn't accomplish this, but this rumpled little woman is going to do what, like I said, Hitler and Kaiser could never accomplish, but she's going to do it through finances. Once you take control of a country's money, you've taken control of the country.
Well, it's become pretty clear that nowadays finances is the preferred method of war. Apparently, no one wants to deal with the nuclear issue, and everybody's easily avoiding that, or I guess not easily, but they've all turned to an alternative method of waging war. And so let me get this straight. France and Germany are kind of like the last men standing in the EU. Is that what's going on?
Or the last financially solvent countries in the EU.
Yeah.
Britain is going to pull out of the EU, and that's been very clear for quite some time. Not for financial reasons so much, but they're tired of their sovereignty being trampled by bureaucrats in Brussels.
So they're choosing to run, and France and Germany, as the last man standing. So they're going to, what are they duking it out, or are they joining forces to take control of everybody?
Oh no, they're joining forces to take control of the rest of the countries of Europe
Financially.
Yeah. Financially, they're going to use money to do it. Essentially, to incite. If you want a bailout, you have to give us control of your national budget, and we get to impose whatever sanctions or penalties we feel are appropriate if you don't comply.
Which is funny. In World War II, we spent lots of money to liberate Greece and Italy from the Germans, and of course in the Napoleonic War, Britain spent lots of money and lives to liberate Portugal and Spain from France, but it appears they're going to take them back without a shot being fired.
So history has come back around to allow because France and Germany have always been the two great powerhouses, politically, economically, culturally in Europe. And that's why Britain can easily withdraw, because they have a totally separate culture and have basically ignored what went on in the continent, unless somehow they were interfering with British colonial activity.
Yeah, Great Britain's always tried to keep themselves aloof from the troubles on the continent anyway.
So
that's why so many people were against the Channel.
So it sounds like there's a hidden issue that no one seems to be talking about, is if finances is the new way of waging war in the new century, and you financially attack, as in bring down the dollar or bring down the value of their money and make so that yours is reigning supreme, that begs the question then, has anybody actually looked at the financial attacks between the major powers, which in this case would be United States and China? We've been waging a financial war for, I guess, a decade now, and we're losing. I mean, we have more imports than we have exports, and a lot of money's flying back and forth, and we're losing.
Well, that's true. The issue that you pointed out to me earlier, Daniel, was every one of our shipping containers. Every shipping container that comes over from China is full, and when it is returned, it's empty. There's a huge trade deficit.
Yeah, well, I mean, like we're talking about Europe, China finally being the creditor nation is going to start asking for stuff, and how do we really refuse them?
Exactly. So
we all should remember the words of Polonius, right? In Hamlet, neither a borrower nor a lender be.
Well, there's the interesting point, and this goes to President Obama's visit to Australia last month, and Hillary Clinton's visit to Burma, or what has been renamed Myanmar, and we're trying to get our diplomatic relations with that nation reestablished. And this is, again, we're on the underbelly of China. You know, so we're going to agitate and irritate the Chinese and warn them. You know, we're back in this area. We've got you surrounded. Because we've got them surrounded in, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. We're probably going to be winding up when the British go to war with Iran here shortly, because we're seeing a replay of the American embassy issue. Of course, there are no hostages this time, but
well, it'll be interesting to see if the Chinese, when they do start asking for things, what the official response of the U.S. government is going to be. I have a feeling they're going to cave. Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be kiss their ass and cave, which has been the policy so far.
Yeah.
I mean, this might look good on TV, but Burma or Myanmar is still one of the worst repressive regimes in the history of the world.
Which will give us, you know, under the responsibility to protect doctrine that allowed us to go into Libya, we may wind up going into Myanmar, you know, under the obligation to protect.
I wouldn't count on that. We could have gone into Tibet under that doctrine, but yeah, no one's going to take on China right now.
No, probably not. But it's there, and it's a threat to the Chinese. You know, it's something
there,
they have to consider because.
I've never heard Obama say one word about the repression in Tibet. Has he? Has he said any manipulated public statements?
No, he hasn't. He met with the Dalai Lama, which really irritated, not officially, it wasn't an official meeting between the Dalai Lama and the president, but it was photographed and it was in the White House, so I think that was kind of a thumbing of the nose at the Chinese. We're not going to submit to your every whim or request, you know. And we're not going to allow you to try and hold this this debt issue over us. And I think we're buying a lot of our treasuries back anyway. You know, the Federal Reserve is buying back a lot of our debt.
Well, this brings to the question: if they are buying all of our debt, and they hold a lot of our debt, and we don't secede to any of their demands. If we don't want to play in the new war methods, which is finances, we're going to resort back to the old war methods, and that will actually mean, you know, war like everybody thinks of it. Actual shots fired.
That could come to that. You know, this is you know, we have these. We're going into Africa, which China is down there trying to get oil and rubber and minerals that they need because they don't have these resources in China.
Yeah.
And of course, what did we do? We're back down there in Kenya, and we've got AFRICOM established there. You know, so everywhere China goes, we're dogging them. And
you don't have to go all the way to Africa to find Chinese influence. I mean, Chinese have a great influence in Canada.
Yeah.
Go up to Vancouver, and it seems like every person you see is Chinese.
Yeah, that's one of the. But the issue is that I think that we're just following them everywhere they go. We're dogging them, and we're putting pressure on them, which is. And of course, if we initiate, or Britain initiates, a war with Iran, who is a big supplier of oil to China, that's going to be a very serious issue.
Well,
because that will cut off, or certainly.
I don't know. I can't help but think we're kind of like the Ottoman Empire in 1910. We look good on paper, but.
You know, well, we're just too overextended.
I don't think there's much there, yeah.
You know, we're overextended, but you know, we have to remember that the people running the show have no sense of history, and they really don't know what they're doing, which is quite obvious. And that's a recipe for disaster.
And we know that our military is going to get slashed to the bone pretty much next year. And we've all been hearing the reports that China's building a whole new modern navy.
Yeah. So well, we've allowed them to do that.
So this brings us back to France and Germany. Is this a prelude to what will be happening on a much larger scale?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the model of the future, that the countries that aren't fiscally responsible are going to get taken over by the richer countries.
So this is just another 1%, 99% thing.
Yeah, this is like the old saying, who holds the gold rules, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like what's and the fact is that we have sent an enormous amount of money to the banks in Europe, because if those banks begin to fail, it's going to have a serious repercussion on our economy here in the United States. Globalism has gone to the point where, it used to be if, the United States sneezed, Europe caught a cold. Now it's if anybody sneezes, everybody everyone's got pneumonia.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is now. We're so intertwined with one another. In fact, it's been speculated that the U.S. is simply part of the European Union now.
Well,
if not legally and it certainly is financially.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're bailing them out, they're bailing us out, and it goes back and forth.
Seems like the more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah, Germany and France are the powerhouses of Europe. China's again trying to take control of the Pacific Rim. The Russians are trying to exert their influence over the Middle East, the Balkans.
So we're...
And anybody who wants to can carve up Africa.
So apparently, with the mineral wealth down there now, and certainly with the decrease in the population, there's huge tracts of land for food production. Like I mentioned in one of our earlier episodes, the problem in Africa is there just aren't enough people to farm the land.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. But this issue with the French and the Germans and us bailing them out, which explains why Obama, while our economy was suffering, was over there trying to rescue theirs. Because if theirs goes down, ours goes down right after it.
Yeah.
So they...
Well, this is going to dovetail right up into our next topic real good, of using money as a weapon, like the U.S. government kind of uses the tax code as a weapon against its citizens.
It's... But this is just quite amazing. And, of course, it cost us about $17 trillion. They finally released that report from the audit of the Federal Reserve, and most of that money went to banks in Europe and to corporations overseas.
Well, at least this is
and we as taxpayers of the United States, are going to pay for that.
Yeah. I was going to add, this is at least keeping the mathematicians busy thinking up new names for huge numbers.
Yes, it's just like,
Yeah, I think trillion's pretty recent. Now we have, what, a quadrillion?
Yeah, a quadrillion. Yeah, there are at least...
quadrillion, yeah.
Well, they estimate that there are 40 quadrillion dollars in derivatives throughout the world market. These toxic assets floating around the world. No one really knows how many there are, where they're at, what their real value is, or what assets and resources they've sucked up.
Pretty much, if all of our debt comes back, our money's going to be totally worthless.
Yeah, which is,
it won't even be worth. They won't even bother printing it anymore.
Well, I heard today we were talking about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac last week.
Yeah.
Well, apparently during the last quarter, they had to receive another $20 billion from the government to keep them afloat.
So I mean, no one was told?
No, that just came out with the audit for the last quarter. They needed to receive an additional $20 billion.
So they're saying they need it.
Well, if they didn't get it, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac would have collapsed.
So have we given it to them?
Yes, there's already been given to them. So there's another $20 billion that we, and the $2 million apiece that the CEOs of Freddie and Fannie received as a bonus for their good work. I don't know what good work they did that cost us another $20 billion, but they certainly shouldn't receive a bonus for it.
Yeah, the question is why do these two organizations still even exist?
Oh, well, this is, well, you both heard that, I'm sure that Barney Frank will not be running for another term.
Yeah.
Well, thank God for that, because he knew he would have lost. You know.
Yeah, well, he should be in jail.
Yes, he should be. He should be investigated
and
for, and shipped off to the Hoosgow. Good grief.
Yeah, like I said, Paulson and him and Dodd should all be sharing a cell.
For the damage that they've done.
But yeah, this is just outrageous behavior, and just our news media is so dead it doesn't even get outraged anymore.
Well, no, the whole thing is, and this kind of amazed me, and it shows how bad, because it was years ago. Barney Frank was running a house of prostitution, of male prostitution, out of his Capitol Hill apartment. And when he was threatened with a possible ethics inquiry and investigation, he threatened to expose and out all the gay members of Congress who were in the closet. So the issue was dropped.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's completely dropped.
Oh, wow.
Now, this shows how corrupt our legislature has become.
Yeah, how corrupt. Yeah, well, I mean, Rangel's been getting away with extortion and fraud for years.
Oh yeah, Rangel's one of the ones I'm sure will be investigated under this insider trading.
Yeah,
along with
and
Nancy
he's
Pelosi
such a political machine.
And a couple of other
He gets
people.
elected.
No, it's just it's outrageous what some. If we don't clean this up, we are doomed. We are doomed because we've got. Let's segue into the next issue that I want to talk about and explain. I believe that when it becomes known how much money, and people really begin to understand that we have mortgaged our future, our grandchildren's future, our great-grandchildren's future, and perhaps our great-great-grandchildren, in order to bail out European banks. The people in this country there's going to be probably a revolution. People are going, and I think that's why they attempted to sneak in the Amendment 1031 and 1032 into the National Defense Authorization Act, which is simply an appropriations bill. And John McCain and Carl of Arizona and Carl Levin of Michigan snuck these two amendments into the bill, and they did so without a public hearing, which is required, and they did it on the night before the bill was supposed to have been voted on. The two provisions provide that Americans may now be declared belligerents on American soil you can be scooped up by the military, who will now be policing the American homeland, the United States. So posse comitatus is gone if this actually gets through.
They might as well just recall. They might as well just call the Constitution void. We've started the Second Republic, if you want to call it that, if this passes.
Yeah, but I thought there was something in place that it did not allow the military to perform active engagements on U.S. soil.
That's posse comitatus. Essentially, this would void that.
Did it go away, or
effect.
did it?
No,
what do you mean it
just
voids
this new legislation would make it of no effect. It would give the military permission to police.
So wouldn't it go something like, well, the older law is already in place, so the older law, since it's older, takes precedence?
No, that's not how it is.
So new law takes
when they
precedence?
pass new legislation, the new legislation overrides the old. This is why this is so bad. It's probably treasonous what they've done.
I would think because they're breaking the previous law.
Well,
the
other part is they're violating the Constitution by doing it.
Yes.
They're violating the clause that people who are charged with treason must receive a public trial based upon 2 witnesses, not 1, 2, and on indictment by a grand jury. Okay, so and the problem here is that this provides that American citizens can be and there's no age limit to it. Daniel, if you had a teenage son, he could be scooped up.
So they can go scoop up that 6-year-old at the beginning of the show.
Yes, and take him off to Guantanamo Bay and hold him till the end of the War on Terror.
There is no end of the War on Terror. Everybody knows this.
Bingo, thank you very much. This is Hitler's enabling act. Everyone thinks Hitler seized power in Germany somehow illegally. He didn't. It was all under the German Constitution.
All gradual.
And they renewed it every 6 months as they were required to by the Constitution. It was all perfectly legal under the Constitution of the Weimar Republic. Everything they did was done in a legal manner, just as what they're doing to us is being done under the color of law, even though it violates the Constitution.
Well, this is extremely depressing. Did it pass, by the way? Is it law yet?
93-7 in the Senate. It passed. Now, the president has said he will veto it if it gets hit. Now, of course, the senators are all cowards. Rather than save the Constitution, they don't want to possibly look bad by voting down an appropriations bill, which you vote the bill down and say, when these items are removed, we'll vote for the bill. And this is why we're doing it. But not one of them is a statesman. They're political bootlickers.
So wait a minute. Here's a piece of law that's getting past the people it's not supposed to get past, up to a person that nobody trusts, and we expect him to veto it.
Well, there's the problem with his record on, I'll do this, I won't do that.
Exactly.
I'll end the war, and so on. So
I'll close Gitmo.
I've got to close Gitmo. Well, it's still operating. So, I won't sign it. His lips are moving.
Obama's not going to veto this. He's the most imperial president we've ever had.
Exactly. That's one more piece of power that he's able to
It makes
wield.
him essentially the dictator of the United States.
Yeah.
It makes him the dictator.
And he ran against the imperial presidency of George W. Bush,
Yeah, it wasn't imperial enough, apparently.
Yeah, apparently it wasn't imperial enough, yeah.
So,
you might as well just drop the title Mr. President and put Imperator instead.
Imperator or Der Führer, or whatever we want to call it.
It sounds like to me it doesn't matter who, if incumbent is on the title of anybody on my voting registrations, apparently I'm not going to vote for anybody that has incumbent.
That's what I said last week. Throw them all out. They are part of the system. They're compromised. You know, they're indebted to corporations. It's fascism is what has happened. Except it's a little different than it was in World War II. In Nazi Germany, the government took over the corporations.
Okay.
In our situation, the corporations have taken over the government.
Well, it's kind of a mutual marriage. They both seem to love each other.
Yeah. It's just
public-private partnership is a kind word for fascism.
Yeah. And that's what it is.
Well, I think this pretty much marks the end of the United States as we know it.
Unless we do something about it. And this is the problem.
The problem is the culture.
The culture, I mean, the Republican candidates, especially, are worried about an issue like gay marriage that doesn't affect her at all. And she doesn't even know what the law is, and she's a lawyer. Give me a break. No wonder we're going down the toilet. You know?
Well, this is the trouble. I know we're going to transition into the decline of the West. We've gotten too much looking to the government and not to the culture.
Yeah. I mean, here's our new national anthem, folks.
The culture has been systematically dismembered and destroyed.
Yes, we've given it up, and we've become so individualistic. We have no interest in the collective welfare of the state. You know, the republic.
Like we were talking about when the left has destroyed the culture, they thought it would breed a collectivism, but instead it's just bred a hyper-individualism where people think, well, if I can get away with something, I don't care what anybody else gets away with.
Yeah, Madoff and Corzine and Paulson. You know, it just, the list is endless of these people.
Yeah, the list is endless.
You know, and this is just, and people that the media gave, the mainstream media gave almost no coverage to this issue. Almost no coverage. And here, essentially, we're going to become slaves. Human resources, not people, just resources that the state can exploit.
Well, I think this is a good transition into our public figure that you're going to discuss today.
Oh, we were going to talk about Snooki. And,
who you didn't know last week.
Well, I didn't know last week. I'm going to ask Daniel to play the clip we have of Snooki here. And then it's an interview that Helen DeGeneres did with Snooki.
So what's your resolution? Did you make any resolutions for New Year's?
Definitely to keep up with my training. I started a month ago. So
what kind of training?
Just to get in shape, pretty much.
Okay.
So he's kicking my butt.
But you have a trainer?
Yeah.
Really? And how often do you work out?
I'm really busy. I try and go like 2 times a week.
2 times a week?
And I can't walk for like a week, so it's really good.
2 times a week, and for how long?
Pretty much until I get where I want to be. So.
No, 2 times a week, like an hour a day?
Oh, yeah, an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
2 times a week?
Yeah.
That's not gonna...
Is that funny?
Well,
I don't get it.
It's just not a lot of time to...
Well, obviously, like, when I'm not with my trainer, I work out.
On your own?
Yeah.
And what are you trying to achieve? Just, not health, obviously, because of the drinking, but what...
Oh, no, I actually calmed down on my drinking.
Okay. So,
I only drank a lot because it was New Year's.
Okay, so now you calm down on it.
Yeah.
So now what kind of workouts, like, are you doing?
I like to work my legs because I used to have ripped legs. I was a cheerleader. Like, I was like 95 pounds and ripped.
Yeah.
Like, more than the situation.
Uh-huh.
So I definitely...
Really?
I want to get back to that and show him what's up.
What kind of workouts are you doing? If I got some mats out here, would you show me what you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to see your workouts, because I like to work out myself.
And so I want to see what you're doing.
I like to see you do some squats.
I'll do some squats. I'd like to see you do some squats.
Okay.
All right, let's go do some squats.
Okay.
All right. Wait. No, let's go sideways. She's wearing it. No. We're going sideways.
I don't
She's
want
wearing
my
a
cool
dress.
guy to hang out.
Right? You're going to face away from the audience because of your skirt.
Okay.
So you're going to face that way. And
These are big balls.
They are big balls, Snooki. And they're very inflated too. I don't usually. All right. So what do you do with the ball?
What do I do with the ball?
Well,
we put them up like this, and then we do squats until you feel it like in your butt. And then you do these. So that kind of works your like sides.
Right.
And then you do this.
You don't have a trainer.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. If you do, he's ripping you off. That is not. That is not an exercise. That's not an exercise, Snooki. What are you doing for your butt? I heard you're doing stuff for your butt.
Yeah, well, I would show you today, but I didn't wear leggings. So.
Tell me what it is.
Well, you go on all fours, and then you put your leg over, so that works your butt. Like.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're doing that?
Yeah.
How many of those are you up to?
I don't even know because it really hurts, so I don't count.
So maybe 2? You're not doing them.
Yes, I am.
All right. The next time you work out, you video and you send it to me.
Okay.
Because that is not a workout.
No, this is just me.
All right. That's just you.
Yeah.
Do you read the stuff that people say about you at all?
Oompa Loompa, meatball, basketball. Thank you.
But, do you really? Because I don't pay attention to stuff that goes on.
I actually have Google alerts on my phone.
Really?
So if anything Snooki comes up in Google, I read it. And if it's anything outrageous, like I'm pregnant with Paulie's kid, then I know to say that's not true.
Really?
Like, yeah.
So,
I don't know what to say.
What is your opinion?
I'm overwhelmed, underwhelmed. I don't know that the Republic is worth saving if this is our cultural icons. Perhaps we just need to quietly go. And here's our new national anthem, folks.
What do you think was more disturbing, Snooki or the positive crowd reaction she got?
Well, the positive crowd, God help it. That's why I say I don't know if this is a cultural icon. If this is what people appreciate and venerate culturally. Yeah.
It's like she has the intelligence of a 12-year-old.
Well, I'll bet you anything that if they did a psychological evaluation of her, she has the emotional development of a 3-year-old. And I have to agree with Eric. I'm not sure she can read, although apparently she's written a book.
With a ghostwriter or something?
Well, I'm certain.
Several books, yeah, several. Most of them are pictures, but...
Yeah, I was about to say, are they children's books?
Most of them are pictures.
No, they're not children's books.
Oh, wow.
This is just astounding. I saw the segment on South Park. Snooki wants smoosh smoosh, but I didn't think we could play that one. So,
I hear even the Italian government was upset with Jersey Shore for giving them a bad image.
Good grief.
I feel dumber just having watched that.
Well,
Dave Berlusconi can date her.
Those people just suck all the air out of the room when she walks in, and everyone drops dead around her. From just, I cannot believe that we have sunk to this level. You know?
I think she certainly qualifies for our decline of the West.
Yes, it's just...
Yeah, I think she should be our cover girl for the decline of the West.
Good.
But
great.
she certainly illustrates that, yeah, you don't have to do anything or be anybody to be famous.
Oh no, she was commenting on how she had her email account set up and her Twitter that if she's ever mentioned, it alerts her so that she can take notice of it. So she has no achievement, no talent. She just has celebrity.
Yeah.
This is pathetic that we have come to this point that we elevate people simply because they're known. This is a horrible misuse. There's a wonderful aspect to social media. It's a wonderful thing, as we saw in the revolution in Egypt, and we saw some other things. It can be well utilized. But this is an abuse. This is a very dark and sinister side to this. It's just, you know, I had never seen her before, and I watched one of the the Jersey Shore's episodes. That was so foul I couldn't pick that one. I was afraid that Daniel wouldn't allow me to put it up. You know, but it was kind of astounding.
You know, I think that's what makes your opinion so good, is you were new to Snooki.
Oh, yeah, I'd never heard of her, but well, I can tell you that when I was watching the Snooki Wants Schmoosh Schmoosh episode on South Park, my cat,
yeah,
and I have a great fondness for cats, got right up there and started watching the monitor. So her name was Balana. I've now changed it to Snooki. So I have a cat named Snooki now. And
that's great. Yeah, she even makes Beavis and Butthead look smart.
Oh yeah, Beavis and Butthead look intelligent compared to, you know, it's just, you know. And I was worried about back in, and the first time I was introduced to them was back in, I think, 1993.
Yeah.
You know, because I thought it was Beavis and Butthead. I thought, about who would have a name like that? And I asked someone that, and they told, oh, no, it's cartoon on MTV. You've got to see it. And it was like, oh, no. You know, and this is what it was filling the brains of our young people. And our adults, I'm sure there's whole families get around to watch Jersey Shores. So, you know, it's astounding. It's really astounding. So
it's astounding. Yeah.
Who is our Decline of the West candidate for next week? I'll have to rely on you gentlemen to provide me with some ideas, because as I said, I don't watch TV, so I'm not up on the culture very much.
Well, I'll nominate Kendra Wilkinson for you.
Kendra Wilkinson. Send me an email, would you, Eric, so I can look her up?
Yeah, I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Kendra Wilkinson. Who is she? What does she do?
One of Hugh Hefner's ex-girlfriends or ex-fiancés or something?
Yeah, she's part one of Hef's harem. Yeah, it's harem, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
he definitely has.
She's in the crosshairs next week. But this Snooki one, if anyone should be scooped up by the military and trumped off to Guantanamo Bay.
Oh, now we don't advocate that even for our poor unfortunate souls.
Well, maybe we can send her over to
well, if you ever need
why don't we send her to Europe?
When they have all those reality shows on, there's also Kimora Lee Simmons, so you have a couple of nominees. I'll send both their names, and you can decide which one.
Well, I think we ought to nominate Snooki for a plenipotentiary position at one of our embassies, either in Germany or France, and let her be there to advise them on economic issues.
I think we should use Snooki's picture for our cover for for this section. Yeah.
For this section, all right. We'll find a picture of her that's presentable. Is there such a thing?
If it's agreeable to everybody else, I think
Yeah.
you should be the cover girl for this segment. Yeah.
Cover girl for Klein of the West, our patron for that. All right, we'll put her up there as the patron. But you know, that's just astounding. I'm just like I said, I'm not sure the Republic's worth saving at this point. I don't, we've killed the culture. It's dead. The church is dead in this country. Has no influence. The culture's dead. The politics is really dead. It's just if there's any argument that there's a devil at work behind all of this, Snooki's testament to that. So.
Well, you and Daniel better get that Vampire Slayers kit together soon.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Well, folks, that's our show for this week. Please look at the videos. There are some lengthy videos, some that I thought were too long to play. They would have taken up too much of the episode. But they're important. There's the video with Lieberman, the chairman of the Senate's Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, opening the hearings on insider trading in Congress and what to do about it and how to put an end to it, and legislation that will effectively end it forever. There's also I think we have a video from the French debt crisis with Sarkozy talking. I think you ought to watch that one. And you can tell what buffoons are actually running things over there. It's an equal group of buffoons running things over here. So you'll understand why we're all going down the drain together.
And as always, we'd like to hear from our viewers.
Yes, please send us some comments, inquiries, suggestions. We'd be happy to receive any of those. WIR-TV, our hashtag on Twitter, and our emails are David, Eric, or Daniel at weekinreview.tv. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. I'm David Smith, and this is Week in Review.
We're okay unless the canary detects pockets of old gas.